Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're out at the range to talk about a brand new product from CMMG, and this one actually has me pretty excited. So here on the table I have my CMMG Mutant. It's a MK47. This is one of the earlier guns, as you can tell by the key mod. This one goes back a little ways in time. This rifle is easily one of my favorite 7.62x39 rifles. I've used it on pig hunts and stuff like that. You've seen this rifle on the channel for many, many years. Well, CMMG has made an update to this gun, a significant update. It's no longer based on the AR like this one with the buffer tube back here and all that other stuff. It is a complete new design, very similar to another rifle that's quite popular in the United States, and that's what we're going to delve in today. We're going to talk about the new Mark 47 from CMMG. A lot of folks ask me, how can I get involved in the firearms business in that particular community? And one of the best ways to do that is to become a gunsmith. Every gunsmith I know is just overbooked with work. It's a very good living. And so if you would like to become a gunsmith, you need to go to a gunsmithing school or become an apprentice for an existing gunsmith. But Modern Gun School is an accredited college that also works with veterans in the GI Bill, where you can go and get a degree from accredited college in gunsmithing and then go out and start your own gunsmithing business, which I think is a really great option. Again, throughout my entire life, gunsmiths have always been able to earn a really good living, assuming they have a really strong work ethic. So please check out Modern Gun School. I do have a link in the video description below. So this is it, guys, the new Dissent Mark 47. Now, the naming conventions on these firearms it's a little bit unique. All right, so if you go back to the early gun, like I showed you at the opening of the video, it was commonly referred to as a Mutant, but also the Mark 47. Then you have the Resolute Mark 47, which all the Mark 47s are 7.62x39 guns that use AK mags, and now we have the Dissent Mark 47. So if you're looking for the gun that we're talking about in today's video, it's the Dissent Mark 47 that you will be looking for. All right, and I just checked their website, and I don't see them on the website just yet. All right, so let's talk about this gun. We'll move from the rear of the gun to the front of the gun and talk about some of the external features, then we'll delve into the inside of the gun, which is really, really interesting. So basically, this is an AR-180/SIG MCX on the inside. Obviously, it's chambered 7.62x39, and that makes it quite different from the gun we opened the video with. But again, we'll delve into that when we get into the field strip portion of the video. So back here, we have a stock. Now, these stocks I just started to see coming on the market. They're interesting. If I was going to ding this gun on one thing, it would be this stock, because it's just it's not a very rigid stock. It looks like a slimmed down ACR style stock, but it has good controls. You can pinch it. There's a button on both sides you have to pinch, and then use your other hand to adjust the position of the length of pull. But you also have the ability to use a cheek riser. It's interesting, but this is the part that I have the biggest problem with. I don't think it's going to break. It just kind of moves in the shoulder when you're shooting it. It also folds to the side. And yes, if you want to shoot your gun with the stock folded, it will allow you to do that. So, and it doesn't lock in the folded position. It just kind of has like a little bit of a detent you can kind of feel there, so it won't just fall on its own, but you can snap it out if you want to. All right, so moving forward, we have ambi controls. So and they're very flat, but they're easy to get to. So even this one over here, it's a little bit more raised than the other one, but it's still relatively flat as AR-15 type selectors go, but it's very easy to access. We have 2 takedown pins, much like an AR-15, and there's no AccuEdge or anything like that inside the gun. Here's your mag release. This is a carryover from the very early guns, but it's very easy to use. It has a bottom portion, so you can release the magazine by pinching it, and then it also has portions on either side for ambi use that you can just push with the index finger and knock your magazine out. We do have a port cover. It's a polymer port cover. On top, we have a 1913 rail, and just like a standard AR-15, the receiver stops right here, then the rest is handguard. So this is your 1913 rail on the receiver, and then from here on out will be the actual handguard. On the handguard, you'll see a slot here. That's a charging handle slot. It does have forward charging, and so it's a non-reciprocating charging handle. And to change it from left side to right side, you just field strip the gun, pull this out, push it on the other side, no tools required. Very simple to do. We'll get into that when we field strip the gun. It is a direct gas impingement gun. And then we have M-lock over here. So we have it M-lock at the 3 and 9 o'clock position and the 6 o'clock position. 16-inch barrel. Out on the end, we have a brand new Huxworks silencer that has a silencer co type mount on it. And this is a brand new product. This one obviously is in 30 cal, and we'll talk more about this in a future video, but it doesn't look like your standard OSS. Very interesting new product. All right, so the gun does use standard AK mags. It will ship with 2 PMags, the PMags are just fine. These are the non-metal reinforced ones. These are great range mags. You can get metal reinforced ones for go-to mags, but it'll also work with a wide variety of standard AK mags. It seems like companies have gotten pretty good in making new guns that use AK mags, making them so they can accept the majority of them, but no two AK mags are alike. So many different countries make them. They'll vary slightly. So you'll want to find mags that'll work with the gun, but the PMags are affordable and of good quality. On top, I do have a primary arms 1 to 8 with an ACSS reticle. This is a great little LPVO, great optics, clarity, and then on top of the gun, it's mounting the scope to it, we have a Midwest Industries kind of crane mount there. So yeah, very neat setup. I really like how the gun feels. It feels very familiar. It still feels like an AR-15, if you will, in the shoulder. The controls are very much AR-15-ish, so it's going to, you know, be very appealing to those of you that already like the AR-15, but you have the benefit of being direct gas impingement MCX/AR-180 type operating system that gets rid of that buffer tube, and that is what makes this thing so cool. And it's a very smooth shooting rifle. Let's take a look on the inside, because this is where things get really, really interesting. First, I want to make sure the weapon's empty, magazine is out, check that chamber. The action on this is very smooth, and that is attributable to the fact that it uses 2 guide rods and 2 recoil springs, unlike another rifle that we had a lot of hope in, the Foxtrot Mike, which would be a DI type, MCX type action as well, but they had 1 single recoil spring perch and then 1 spring riding inside the other, and it's a bit gritty. This thing feels very smooth. So that's the nice part about using that dual recoil spring system, which we'll show you now. So you'll break it open, it clams open just like an AR-15 does. Use a standard AR-15 trigger, and the pins are captive. I'm going to take the bolt and carrier out. That's simple. You can unpin the front if you want. I'm not going to do it now. If you're familiar with the AR-15, you're familiar with this. All right, so here's your bolt. Obviously, that is very MCX-ish, like the very, very early MCX. You can take it apart like the later ones, like the Spears and stuff. You really can't. They're pinned in place. This one is like an earlier MCX, which I like. You can actually take the recoil springs off and clean them. And then you have an AR-10 style bolt head here. And it's very thick, very beefy, much like the original Mark 47 or the Mutant. And on the face of it, it's actually marked 7.62 by 39 on the lugs, which is kind of a neat touch. So you can see the single ejector in there, and then the extractor. All right, so let's take it apart. First, you just pull down either one of these and just rotate it. Pull down the recoil spring, rotate this end piece, and then hold on to that spring and let it ride off. And then on the other one, same thing, pull the spring down, and then take this end cap off and take your recoil spring off. Now the 2 recoil springs will go out the front of the carrier, and this little piece will pop off. This little piece just sets in there like that, and the recoil spring guide rod holds it in place. All right, so now that's all apart, and taking this guide rod out on this side of the carrier is necessary because you'll see the cam pin. That's how it gets clearance to come out. So now I'm going to take the cam pin out. Hopefully I don't need a tool. I don't. Take that cam pin out. Now the recoil spring comes out. Now I can take that cam pin out.
A few moments later.
So I was struggling with getting this cam pin out, and you can see the slot here that it's meant to pass through. But the head of the cam pin is so perfectly machined, it's such tight tolerances, that it'll move through that slot pretty freely until it hits the very end, and then it's going to bind a little bit. If that pin is at a slight angle, it's not going to come out. So it has to be perfectly up and down, and then you can kind of pop it out. If they would just give just a little bit more clearance, that pin would move through there a little bit more cleanly. So I would knock that out there a little bit and open it up a bit. All right, so now we got the bolt out. You can see the extractor. There's the extractor spring. This piece on the end, this is what holds the guide rods in. This is interesting. So early SIGs would have made this piece out of polymer, which broke. So they made them out of metal. This is made out of metal. but it sets inside a hard rubber piece. This entire piece is hard rubber, and that is kind of a guide to those rods. So you just want to make sure that when you put this back together, you put it back together correctly, which I'm trying not to do desperately here. I just put it together correctly. I always get things wrong. Here we go. There we go. Just like that. All right, it just kind of sets in there. All right, so that's fully disassembled. And again, very MCX-ish in design, which is actually a good design. I like it quite a bit. Let's take a look at the original Mark 47 and compare it to the carrier of the new Dissent. So if you take a look at the bolt and carrier here of the Mark 47, you can see it's a standard AR-10 style bolt and carrier. Uses a large AR-10 style bolt, which was a nice change because when this came out, most 7.62x39 ARs were using standard 5.56 sized bolts, and they were hogging them out and they were breaking and fracturing. This is one of the first beefy designs that came out, chambered in 7.62x39. I really like it, but it's big, it's massive, it's AR-10-ish, tapers down to a standard M4 diameter tube back here, but still big, heavy piece of metal. Now, if you take a look at the new Dissent, you can see it almost looks like it's made from the same machining processes. The vent holes, everything are very similar. Matter of fact, if you take a look at the top, there's your carrier key for the DI on the original Mark 47. Here you can see the bolts are the same, it just bolts in place. This is your perch for your recoil springs and guide rods. So it's interesting to see. So this is much lighter weight, much less reciprocating mass. This is a big, heavy recoil system. I mean, that's how this thing sets in the gun, right? This has its recoil system setting on top of the bolt carrier group, and therefore it has a very short action, but also has much less reciprocating mass. That's why we're so interested in this particular design. This coupled with DI, that lower reciprocating mass, makes for a more pleasant shooting 7.62x39 rifle. Well, why didn't you guys say something? I forgot to show you how to switch the charging handle. Very simple to do. I'm just gonna make sure the weapon's clear here. Pop the action open, draw the charging handle to the rear, and you can see all I'm gonna do is pull it out, right? Just literally sets right in there. Pull it out, put it on the other side, and just push everything back together. Now, if you take a look at the charging handle, it has a very positive clip that locks it in the forward position. Again, it doesn't reciprocate during firing. So, very simple to do. All right, so let's do a little shooting with the gun using a suppressor. First, I'm gonna put 10 rounds of Wolf through it to show you that the gun works without the suppressor on it before I put the can on. I have not made any changes to the gas system. This is the settings of the gun as it came out of the box, so I have not tinkered with the adjustable gas regulator at all. 10 rounds of Wolf. All right, this is that new Huxworks silencer. Uses, I'm so used to OSS cans that have a reverse thread on them, left-hand thread. All right, locked in. Now the nice thing about these cans, they're low back pressure cans, so you really don't generally have to mess with your gas system when you're running OSS. Yeah. Overall, very, very slick setup for sure. I should point out that I was talking about the stock being a little bit flimsy for my tastes. You're not stuck using this stock. They have different stocks available for the gun. They have pick rails back here. You can put whatever you want on it. You put AR-15 style buffers on it with AR-15 stocks. You can put JMAC stocks on it, whatever you want. So you're not forced to use this particular stock. The gun itself, this is a T&E, which means it's a testing and evaluation sample that was sent to me to make a video to evaluate. I don't see these on their website currently. I'm going to guess, based upon the price of other Dissent rifles, chambered in different cartridges, it's going to be right around, looking at those prices, it's going to be right around 2,200 bucks. So I'm guessing that this is what that rifle is going to come to market as. What do I think of it? I think it's a quality gun. I really like the fact that it's a direct gas impingement take on the AR-180/MCX. It's something that Jace and I have been looking for quite some time, so it's really neat to see it. So that means I would also like to get some trigger time with this gun in 5.56, 300 blackout, and stuff like that as well, maybe down the road. All right, guys, if you have any questions about this particular rifle, we try to stick around for the first couple of days after a video goes live to answer the questions you may have. You can post those down below. Also, if you'd like to support us here at the Military Arms Channel, the best way to do that is become part of our Patreon family. There's a link in the video description below. Also, you have the thanks button and the join button underneath the video player you're watching right now. Mash either one of those buttons. You can support us right here on YouTube in the age of demonetization. Last but not least, please swing by, check out Copper Custom. Thank you for 15 years of support, and we'll talk to you guys soon.